The alarm bells rang through the space station like angry wasps. Captain Kim Tae-ho walked fast down the metal hallway, his boots making sharp sounds on the floor. He had been sleeping when the call came. Now he was wide awake. The command center was full of busy people. Screens showed flashing lights and numbers. Everyone was talking at once. Kim saw Lieutenant Park Ji-woo at her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the glowing buttons and displays. She looked worried. "What do we have?" Kim asked as he reached the center chair. "Big problem, sir," Park said. She pointed at the main screen. Long-range sensors picked up a fleet. A very big fleet. "They are coming straight for us." Kim looked at the screen. Red dots filled it like angry stars. Each dot was a ship. He counted quickly in his head. There were hundreds of them. Sergeant Lee Dong-min turned from his communication station. "Sir, we are getting a message." "They want to talk." "Put it on the main screen," Kim said. He stood straight and fixed his uniform. This was going to be important. The screen changed. Now it showed the inside of an alien ship. A creature sat in a big chair. It had silver scales like a snake, but it walked on two legs like a person. It had 4 arms instead of 2. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth. Its eyes were cold and yellow. "I am Admiral Vorth of the Hegemony Fleet," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough. "You will listen to my words, human." Kim said nothing. He just waited. Vorth leaned forward in his chair. "Your little colony on this world belongs to us now. We have claimed it. You will leave this place at once." "This is human space," Kim said calmly. "We have lived here for 20 years. We will not leave," Vorth laughed. It was not a nice sound. "You think you can fight us? Look at your sensors, human. I command 1,000 ships. I have 1 million soldiers ready for battle. Your resistance is nothing. You cannot win." Behind Kim, Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin looked up from her station. She had been checking their own forces. Her face was pale. "Sir," she whispered, "we have 50 ships in the whole system. Maybe 50,000 people total, including civilians." Kim heard her but did not turn around. He kept looking at Vorth on the screen. The alien was smiling with all those sharp teeth. It thought it had already won. "You see, human," Vorth continued, "you are badly outnumbered. We have 20 soldiers for every one of yours. This is not a fight. This is just us taking what is ours. Be smart. Leave now and live." Dr. Yoon Hanul, the medical officer, shook her head. "Sir, even if we wanted to leave, we cannot move all the civilians in time. The colony ships would take weeks to load everyone. Then leave the civilians," Vorth said. He had been listening to everything. "We can use them as workers. They will serve the hegemony well." That made Kim angry, but he did not show it. His face stayed calm. He had been a soldier for 20 years. He knew how to control his feelings. "Admiral Vorth," Kim said slowly, "I want to thank you for the warning." "Warning?" Vorth looked confused. "Yes. You told me exactly what I needed to know. You have 1 million soldiers on 1,000 ships. That is very helpful information. I do not understand, human. Are you going to surrender?" Kim smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had found his prey. "No, Admiral. You misunderstood something important. You see 1 million soldiers. I see 1 million targets." Vorth's yellow eyes went wide. His mandibles clicked together fast, which meant he was angry or surprised. "Maybe both. What did you say?" Vorth demanded. "You heard me correctly," Kim said. 1 million targets. Thank you for bringing them all in one place. It will make my job much easier." "You are insane," Vorth shouted. "We outnumber you 20 to 1. "Numbers," Kim said, shaking his head. "You aliens always think it is about numbers. Let me teach you something about humans, Admiral. We do not fight fair. We fight smart." Commander Han Ji-ho, who led the small fighter squadron, smiled from his station. "He understood what the captain was doing. You cannot defeat us," Vorth said. His voice was getting higher. "It is impossible." "Impossible?" Kim laughed. "Admiral, humans do impossible things every day. We flew to the stars when we could barely fly in our own sky. We built cities in space when we lived in caves on our home world. We made friends with aliens who used to be our enemies. Impossible is just another word for something we have not done yet." Vorth stood up from his chair. All 4 of his arms were shaking with anger. "This is your last chance, human. Surrender now or face total destruction." "I have a better idea," Kim said. "Why do not you turn your ships around and go home? Save yourself and your soldiers, because if you come to my home, If you threaten my people, I will show you why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when someone tries to hurt their family. You will pay for your words, Vorth screamed. We will crush you like insects. We will see, Kim said calmly. Then he made a gesture to Lee. Cut the transmission. The screen went black. The command center was quiet for a moment. Everyone was looking at Kim. Finally, Park spoke up. Sir, are we really going to fight them? 1,000 ships? Kim turned to face his crew. These were good people. They had worked with him for years. They trusted him. Now he had to prove that trust was not misplaced. Listen to me, all of you, Kim said. That alien thinks this is his kind of fight. Big fleet against small fleet, more guns against fewer guns. But he is wrong. We are not going to fight his war. We are going to fight our war. The human war. What do you mean? Asked Nam. Humans do not win by being stronger, Kim explained. We win by being smarter. We win by doing things the enemy does not expect. We win by turning their strengths into weaknesses. He walked to the tactical display. It showed their solar system. The alien fleet was still far away but getting closer. They have 1 million soldiers, Kim continued. That sounds scary. But think about it differently. That is 1 million people who need food, water, and air. 1 million people who can get confused, scared, or angry. 1 million people who follow orders without thinking. Commander Cho Min-seo, who ran the stealth ships, nodded. And if we can disrupt their orders? Exactly, Kim said. If we can make them confused, if we can make them scared, if we can make them fight each other instead of us, then their numbers become our advantage. Dr. Yoon looked thoughtful. I studied their species. They are pack hunters. They need strong leadership to function. Without clear orders, they panic. Perfect, Kim said. Then that is where we hit them. Not their ships, not their weapons, their command structure, their communications, their confidence. He turned back to the main screen, which now showed the approaching red dots again. Send a message to all ships and stations, Kim ordered. Tell them we are implementing Protocol 7. All department heads report to the briefing room in 1 hour. As his crew rushed to carry out orders, Kim stared at the enemy fleet on the screen. Admiral Vorth thought he was bringing an army to crush a small human colony. But Kim knew better. Vorth was bringing targets. 1 million beautiful targets all lined up and ready for the human way of war. The briefing room was full. Every senior officer from the defense fleet sat around the big table. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood at the front, looking at a holographic display of their solar system. The enemy fleet was getting closer. Red dots moved slowly but steadily toward their blue homeworld. Protocol 7, Kim said, is not about winning a fair fight. It is about making sure there is no fair fight at all. Lieutenant Park Ji-woo raised her hand. Sir, what exactly is Protocol 7? This is the first time I have heard of it. Kim smiled. That is because we created it last week. After studying alien battle tactics for the past 5 years, our war planners realized something. Every alien species fights the same way. Big fleets, direct attacks, overwhelming force. They all think like Admiral Vorth. Commander Han Ji-ho leaned forward. So we created a doctrine specifically for fighting superior numbers. Exactly, Kim said. The first rule of Protocol 7 is simple. Never fight the enemy where they are strong. Fight them where they are weak. Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin activated her tablet. Sir, I have been working on the technical aspects. The enemy fleet is spread out over 1,000 cubic kilometers of space. Their communication systems need to coordinate all those ships and soldiers. That is a lot of signals flying around. Which means, Kim prompted. Interference opportunities, Nam said with a grin. If we can disrupt their communications even for short periods, their formation will start to break down. Kim nodded. Good, what else? Dr. Yoon Hanul spoke up. I finished analyzing their psychology profiles. The hegemony species evolved as pack hunters on a world with limited resources. They developed strict social hierarchies to prevent internal conflict. When that hierarchy breaks down, they become very aggressive toward each other. Interesting, said Commander Cho Min-seo. So if we can make them think their own commanders are giving wrong orders, they will start fighting each other instead of us, Kim finished. Exactly what we want. He pointed to the display. It now showed detailed scans of the approaching enemy fleet. The ships were arranged in perfect formation like soldiers marching in rows. Look at this, Kim said. Beautiful formation. Perfect spacing. Every ship knows exactly where every other ship should be. Vorth is proud of this organization. It makes him feel strong and in control. But it also makes them predictable, observed Commander Park Hyarim from her seat. They will approach in that same formation. They will expect us to meet them head-on with our own formation. Which we will not do, Kim said. Sergeant Lee, what is the status of our communications equipment? Sergeant Lee Dong-min checked his notes. Already, sir. We have been monitoring their frequencies for weeks. Specialist Kang Min-ji has been studying their language. She can now speak it almost perfectly. Specialist Kang stood up. She was young, maybe 25, but she had a gift for languages. Sir, I can imitate their communication patterns. Their officers use very formal speech. If I broadcast orders using the right tone and vocabulary, lower-ranked soldiers will obey without question. Perfect, Kim said. Nam, what about the mining drones? Engineer Nam's eyes lit up. This is the fun part. We have 300 automated mining drones scattered through the asteroid belt. Officially, they are still mining operations. But I have been making some modifications. She activated a new display. It showed technical drawings of the mining drones. They looked like small spaceships with big drilling arms. Each drone now carries military-grade explosives, Nam explained. But more importantly, they carry jamming equipment. When activated, they will create a sensor dead zone about 50 kilometers wide. Commander Han whistled. 300 of them spread through the belt? That is a lot of interference. The best part, Nam continued, is that the explosives are on a timer. The jamming happens first, creating confusion. Then, 30 minutes later, the explosions provide visual distraction. The enemy will think we are attacking them from the asteroid field. Kim walked around the table, looking at each officer. These were good people, smart people, people he trusted with his life and the lives of everyone in the system. Here is how this works, he said. Phase 1 begins when the enemy fleet reaches the outer marker. Commander Cho, your stealth ships will deploy the modified mining drones at strategic points. Make sure the enemy sensors can detect them, but not clearly enough to identify what they really are. Cho nodded. We can make them look like weapons platforms or defense stations. Good. Phase 2 starts when they reach the middle marker. Commander Han, you will lead what appears to be a desperate attack with our fighter squadrons. Make it look like we are throwing everything we have at them. Han smiled. A distraction while the real plan unfolds? Exactly. But make it convincing. I want Vorth to think we are panicking. Lieutenant Park will coordinate false sensor readings to make our small fighter force look much larger than it really is. Park was already working on her tablet. I can create phantom signals. Make 20 ships look like 200. Phase 3 is the communication disruption, Kim continued. Specialist Kang will begin broadcasting false orders on enemy frequencies. Start small. Wrong coordinates, minor course corrections. Make it look like communication errors, not sabotage. Kang nodded. I understand, sir. Build confusion slowly. Dr. Yoon will monitor their psychological state through intercepted communications. When she detects rising stress levels, we move to Phase 4. Dr. Yoon looked determined. I will be listening to everything they say. Phase 4 is the mining drone activation, Kim said. When Dr. Yoon gives the signal, activate the jamming systems. I want their formations to break apart. I want their ships scattered and blind. They will panic, Nam said with satisfaction. Big fleets depend on coordination. Take that away, and they become just a bunch of confused ships floating in space. Kim turned to the display one more time. Phase 5 is the cleanup. Commander Park, once their formation is broken, you coordinate our real ships in small unit actions. Pick off isolated enemy groups. Make them think we have forces everywhere. Hit and run tactics, Park agreed. Classic human warfare. Remember, Kim said, addressing the whole room, we are not trying to destroy their entire fleet. That would be impossible. We are trying to make them retreat. We want Admiral Vorth to decide that fighting us costs more than it is worth. Commander Han raised his hand. Sir, what if it does not work? What if they keep coming despite the confusion? Kim was quiet for a moment. This was the question he had been dreading. The truth was, if Protocol 7 failed, they were all going to die. But he could not tell his officers that. They needed confidence, not fear. Then we improvise, Kim said finally. That is what humans do best. We adapt, we find new solutions. We never give up. The officers around the table nodded. They believed in him. More importantly, they believed in each other. Time to the outer marker? Kim asked. Park checked her sensors. 18 hours, sir. Good, everyone get some rest. Eat a good meal. Spend time with your families if they are on the station. Tomorrow we show the galaxy why you should never threaten human space. As the officers filed out of the briefing room, Kim stayed behind. He stared at the enemy fleet on the display. 1,000 ships, 1 million soldiers, all coming to destroy his home. But Admiral Vorth had made one critical mistake. He thought this was going to be a battle between two fleets. He thought it was going to be about who had bigger guns and more ships. He was wrong. This was going to be about who was smarter, who could adapt faster, who could turn disadvantages into advantages. This was going to be a human fight, and humans had been winning impossible fights for thousands of years. Kim turned off the display and headed for the door. He had his own preparations to make. Protocol 7 was a good plan, but plans never survived contact with the enemy unchanged. He needed to be ready for anything. Outside the briefing room, the space station continued its normal activities. People worked, ate, talked, and lived their lives. Most of them did not know that tomorrow would determine whether they continued to be free human citizens or became alien slaves. Kim would make sure they stayed free. Whatever it cost, whatever it took, that was what humans did. They protected their own. The enemy fleet reached the outer marker at exactly 800 hours. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood in the command center, drinking his morning coffee and watching the red dots on the tactical display. They moved forward in perfect formation, just as predicted. All stations report ready, Lieutenant Park Ji-woo announced from her position. Her fingers hovered over the control systems, ready to begin their deception. Commander Cho, report, Kim said into his headset. The voice of Commander Cho Min-seo came back immediately. Stealth ships in position, sir. Mining drones deployed at coordinates Alpha through Zulu. Enemy sensors are detecting them but cannot get clear readings. Good. What is their reaction? Admiral Vorth has slowed his advance. His scouts are trying to identify what they think are weapons platforms. Kim smiled. Phase 1 was working perfectly. The enemy was already becoming cautious, second-guessing themselves. Commander Han, are you ready for your performance? Commander Han Ji-ho's voice came over the radio with excitement. Ready and eager, sir. My pilots know what to do. We are going to give them a show they will never forget. Remember, make it look desperate but not hopeless. I want them to think we are throwing everything we have at them because we are scared. Understood, sir. Kim turned to Dr. Yoon Han-nul, who was monitoring alien communications. Doctor, what are they saying? Dr. Yoon adjusted her headphones and listened carefully to the alien chatter. Admiral Vorth is confused by our defensive positions. He expected us to meet them in open space with our full fleet. Instead, he sees what looks like fixed defenses and is wondering where our ships are. Perfect. He is already thinking differently than he planned. Specialist Kang Minji looked up from her communication station. Sir, I am monitoring their command frequencies. Should I begin the false orders? Not yet. Let them get closer. I want them committed to their approach before we start the confusion. The main screen showed the enemy fleet in detail now. The ships were huge, much larger than anything humans built. Each one could probably destroy 10 human ships in a fair fight. But Kim had no intention of fighting fair. Phase 2. Execute, Kim ordered. Commander Han's fighter squadrons burst from hidden positions among the asteroids. 20 small fast ships accelerated toward the massive enemy fleet. To watching alien sensors, Lieutenant Park's electronic warfare made it look like 200 ships. Direct hit, Park announced. Their sensors are reading multiple squadrons approaching from different vectors. Admiral Vorth is ordering his fleet to defensive formations. On the screen, the perfect alien formation began to change. Ships moved to protect against the apparent multi-pronged attack. The neat rows became clusters and defensive circles. Phase 3, execute, Kim said. Specialist Kang began her work. Her fingers moved quickly over her console as she broadcast on enemy frequencies. Strike Group 7, adjust course 15 degrees starboard, she said in perfect alien language. Strike Group 12, maintain current speed but increase spacing. Dr. Yoon listened to the alien responses. It is working, sir. Lower-level commanders are acknowledging the orders, but some senior officers are asking for confirmation. Expected, Kim said. Kang increased the confusion gradually. Make some of the orders contradict each other. Kang nodded and continued her false transmissions. All groups prepare for attack formation Delta. Strike Group 7 belay previous order, maintain current position. Strike Group 12, reduce speed immediately. On the tactical display, the enemy fleet began to look less organized. Ships were no longer moving in perfect coordination. Some were speeding up, others slowing down. The formation was becoming ragged. Commander Han's voice came over the radio. "Sir, we are engaging their forward scouts. They are trying to target us, but our electronic countermeasures are working. They cannot get lock-on." "Casualties?" Kim asked. "None so far. We are staying at maximum range and using hit-and-run tactics. But sir, they are starting to realize our numbers are not what their sensors are telling them. It does not matter. The deception has already done its job. How much confusion do we have in their ranks, Doctor?" Dr. Yoon listened carefully to the alien chatter. "Growing, sir. Junior officers are reporting conflicting orders. Some ships are asking for clarification on multiple commands. Admiral Vorth is trying to regain control, but his communications are becoming chaotic." "Time for Phase 4, Kim announced. "Engineer Nam, activate the mining drones." Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin's hands moved over her controls with practiced precision. "Jamming systems activating now, sir. Full-spectrum interference deploying across the asteroid belt." The effect was immediate and dramatic. The enemy fleet, which had been struggling with confusing orders, suddenly lost most of their sensor capability. Ships that had been moving in loose formation now could barely see each other. "They are blind," Park reported with satisfaction. "Long-range sensors, short-range targeting systems, communication arrays, everything is being jammed. The interference covers approximately 60% of their fleet." Kim watched as the red dots on his display began to scatter. Ships that could not see where they were supposed to be going started to drift apart. The careful spacing that prevented collisions was no longer possible. "First explosion in 30 minutes, Nam announced. That should provide additional confusion." Dr. Yoon suddenly looked alarmed. "Sir, Admiral Vorth is getting angry. He is shouting orders, but many of his ships cannot receive them clearly. Some commanders are making their own decisions." "What kind of decisions?" "Some are retreating to safe distance. Others are advancing independently, trying to get clear of the jamming. A few groups are—" "Sir, they are starting to fire on each other." Kim felt a cold satisfaction. This was exactly what the psychological profile had predicted. When the alien hierarchy broke down, they would become aggressive toward anyone they perceived as a threat, including their own people. "Commander Park, time to deploy our real fleet," Kim ordered. Commander Park Hiram had been waiting for this moment. The main human battle fleet had been hidden behind the planet, powered down and silent. Now they moved out, targeting the isolated enemy groups. 12 enemy ships separated from the main fleet, sir," Park reported. "They are trying to establish communications with Admiral Vorth, but cannot get through the jamming." "Take them," Kim ordered. The human ships moved like wolves hunting sheep. They were smaller and fewer, but they were coordinated. They knew exactly where they were and what they were doing. The confused enemy ships were easy targets. "First group eliminated," Park announced. "No human casualties." The enemy ships were so disoriented they barely returned fire. More explosions lit up the asteroid belt as Nam's mining drones reached their timer limits. The bright flashes added to the confusion, making it look like there were battles happening throughout the entire region. "Sir," Dr. Yoon said urgently, "Admiral Vorth is ordering a general retreat, but only half his fleet is receiving the order clearly." "What about the other half?" "They are either continuing their original attack or making independent decisions. The fleet is completely out of coordination." Kim walked to the main screen and stared at the chaos they had created. The perfect enemy formation was now scattered across space. Ships were firing at targets they could not properly identify. Others were fleeing toward the edge of the system. Still others were trying to regroup but finding only more confusion. "Commander Han, status of your fighters?" "All accounted for, sir. We have taken some damage but no losses. The enemy cannot target us effectively in this jamming field. We are picking off isolated ships and making them think we have forces everywhere." "Phase 5 is now in effect," Kim announced to the entire fleet. "All units hunt and destroy enemy stragglers. Focus on communication ships and command vessels. I want Admiral Vorth to lose complete control of his fleet." The human ships spread out through the battlefield like a net. Each captain knew their role and executed it perfectly. They had trained for years for exactly this kind of coordinated action. "Sir," Park reported, "we are detecting massive explosions in the enemy fleet. I think some of their ships are having accidents in the confusion." Kim nodded grimly. "When you packed 1,000,000 soldiers into 1,000 ships and then took away their ability to see and communicate properly, accidents were inevitable." "Enemy casualty report?" Kim asked. Park checked her sensors. Hard to get exact numbers through all the jamming and interference, but we estimate they have lost at least 200 ships. Maybe more. Dead, damaged, or simply lost and unable to rejoin the fleet. And our casualties? 17 wounded, mostly minor. 3 ships with significant damage but still operational. No deaths. Kim felt the tension in his shoulders start to relax. Protocol 7 was working better than he had dared hope. They were not just surviving the encounter with a superior force. They were winning. Dr. Yoon, what is Admiral Vorth's psychological state? Dr. Yoon listened to the alien communications with growing amazement. Sir, he is losing control completely. He is shouting contradictory orders, demanding status reports from ships that cannot respond, and threatening his own officers with execution for failing to maintain formation. The perfect alien commander, Kim said with satisfaction, meeting the imperfect human war. 3 days had passed since the battle began. What Admiral Vorth had planned as a quick conquest had become a nightmare of confusion and retreat. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood in his command center, watching the tactical display with quiet satisfaction. The enemy fleet was scattered across half the solar system. Status report, Kim requested. Lieutenant Park Ji-woo checked her screens. Enemy forces have broken into at least 30 separate groups. The largest has about 50 ships. The smallest are just 2 or 3 vessels trying to find each other. Admiral Vorth's location? His flagship is with the main group, approximately 2 million kilometers from the planet. They are trying to regroup, but our jamming operations are still disrupting their communications. Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin looked up from her station. Sir, the modified mining drones are performing better than expected. We have created a sensor dead zone that covers most of the space between here and the asteroid belt. Any enemy ship entering it becomes effectively blind and deaf. Kim nodded. The human forces had turned the entire inner solar system into a maze where only they could see clearly. It was like fighting in their own backyard while the enemy stumbled around in the dark. Commander Shin. Report on the hunter teams, Kim said into his headset. Commander Shin Jae-sung replied from his patrol ship. We have eliminated 6 more enemy groups, sir. Total enemy ships destroyed or disabled is now over 400. They are having trouble telling our ships from their own in all the confusion. Casualties? Light. The enemy is so disorganized they are barely fighting back. Most of them surrender when we show up. They think we have forces everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Dr. Yoon Hanul adjusted her headphones. Sir, I am intercepting some interesting communications. Many enemy soldiers are asking their officers why they came to this system. Morale is collapsing. What are the officers telling them? Different things. Some say they are fighting for the glory of the hegemony. Others admit they do not know what is happening. A few are actually telling their crews to prepare for surrender. Kim felt a grim smile cross his face. This was exactly what human military doctrine had predicted. When you broke an alien command structure, everything else fell apart quickly. Intelligence Officer 1, what have you learned from the prisoners? Intelligence Officer 1 Hye-jin stepped forward. She had been interviewing captured enemy soldiers for the past 2 days. Sir, the results are remarkable. Many of them are actually relieved to be captured. They say fighting humans is like fighting ghosts or demons. Demons? They cannot understand our tactics, sir. In their experience, space battles are about big fleets meeting in open space and shooting until one side wins. What we are doing makes no sense to them. They think we have supernatural powers. Kim walked to the main display, which showed the scattered remains of the enemy fleet. Red dots were spread across the system like spilled paint. Some were moving randomly. Others were stationary, and a few were actually heading away from the battle zone completely. How many of their ships are combat effective? Kim asked. Park checked her analysis. Maybe 300, sir. The rest are damaged, lost, or have surrendered. But even the combat effective ones are not coordinated. They are just individual ships floating around waiting for orders. And Admiral Vorth? Still trying to regain control of his fleet. But every time he gives an order, our false communications make it worse. Specialist Kang is doing excellent work. Specialist Kang Minji looked up from her station with tired eyes. She had been broadcasting false orders for 3 days straight. Sir, I think Admiral Vorth is starting to suspect that his communications are compromised. But he cannot stop using them because that would mean total loss of control. A perfect trap, Kim observed. He has to use the very system that is destroying his coordination. Pilot An Taijun's voice came over the communications. Captain Kim, this is Flight Leader An. I have something interesting to report. Go ahead, An. Sir, I found a group of enemy heavy cruisers trying to hide in the asteroid field. But they made a mistake. They parked themselves right next to one of Engineer Nam's hidden minefields. Kim looked at Nam, who grinned back at him. I may have forgotten to mention that particular surprise, sir. How many ships, An? 7 heavy cruisers, sir, big ones. If I can lead them into the minefield, do it. But be careful. Do not take unnecessary risks. Understood, sir. Kim watched on the tactical display as An's single fighter approached the enemy group. The pilot had volunteered for the mission, knowing it was dangerous. But that was typical of humans. They took individual initiative that no alien species seemed capable of. Contact, An reported. They see me, following as expected, leading them toward the mines now. The enemy cruisers moved slowly but steadily after the small human fighter. They probably thought it was an easy target. Instead, An was leading them into a carefully prepared trap. Almost there, An said. They are taking the bait perfectly. Activating mines in 3, 2, 1. The explosion was visible even from the command center. 7 brilliant flashes lit up the asteroid field as the enemy ships triggered the hidden explosives. Nam's miners had done excellent work disguising the weapons among the space rocks. All 7 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, An reported cheerfully. I am returning to base. No damage to my ship. Outstanding work, pilot, Kim replied. Then he addressed the command center. That is what I am talking about, people. Individual initiative, creative thinking, using the enemy's expectations against them. Commander Park High-Rim's voice came over the communications. Sir, we have a new development. Some enemy ships are actually attacking other enemy ships. Explain. Our false communications have convinced several enemy groups that other groups are human ships in disguise. They are firing on each other. Kim shook his head in amazement. The enemy fleet was now destroying itself without any help from human forces. Dr. Yoon, what is Admiral Vorth's reaction to this? Dr. Yoon listened to the alien communications. He is. Sir, I think he is having what humans would call a nervous breakdown. He is screaming orders that make no sense. He just ordered his own escort ships to fire on what he thinks are enemy infiltrators. But they are his own ships? Yes, sir. His escort commanders are refusing to obey. This is causing even more confusion. Kim walked back to his command chair and sat down. The battle was essentially over, but Admiral Vorth did not seem to realize it yet. His million soldiers were scattered, confused, and fighting each other. His 1,000 ships were reduced to a few hundred stragglers hiding throughout the system. All ships, this is Captain Kim, he announced on the fleet frequency. Prepare for final phase operations. We are going to end this. The human fleet had been waiting for this moment. Every ship captain knew their role in the final assault. They would not attack the enemy directly. Instead, they would appear everywhere at once, completing the psychological destruction of enemy morale. Commander Han, take your fighters and make high-speed passes near every enemy group. Do not engage unless fired upon. I want them to know we can reach them anywhere, anytime. Understood, sir. Hit and fade tactics. Commander Cho, move your stealth ships to positions around Admiral Vorth's main group. When I give the signal, I want you to decloak simultaneously. Make it look like we have surrounded him. With pleasure, sir. Commander Park, coordinate all forces. When the enemy sees us everywhere at once, they are going to panic. Be ready to accept surrenders. Kim looked at the tactical display one more time. 3 days ago, it had shown a massive enemy fleet approaching with confidence and overwhelming force. Now it showed scattered groups of confused and demoralized aliens, most of whom just wanted to go home. Dr. Yoon, open a channel to Admiral Vorth's flagship. Channel open? Sir. Kim stood up and straightened his uniform. It was time to end this properly. Admiral Vorth, this is Captain Kim Tae-ho of the Human Defense Force. I believe we need to talk. The response came quickly, but the voice sounded very different from 3 days ago. Admiral Vorth sounded tired, confused, and afraid. Human Captain? What do you want? I want to prevent any more unnecessary deaths, Admiral. Your fleet is defeated. Your soldiers are scattered and demoralized. Many are already surrendering. You have 2 choices. Continue this hopeless fight and watch more of your people die, or accept the reality of the situation. There was a long pause. Kim could imagine the alien commander looking around his bridge trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. What are your terms? Vorth asked finally. Kim smiled. After 3 days of impossible fighting, the aliens were finally ready to learn what humans had known all along. Sometimes the smartest fight was the one you never had to finish. The main screen in the command center showed Admiral Vorth's bridge. The alien commander looked very different from 5 days ago. His silver scales seemed dull and lifeless. His forearms hung at his sides in defeat. Behind him, Kim could see other alien officers looking confused and scared. "My terms are simple," Captain Kim Tae-ho said calmly. "Immediate withdrawal of all hegemony forces from this system. Return of any human property or personnel you may have taken. And a promise that the hegemony will not attack human space again." Vorth's yellow eyes narrowed. "And if I refuse?" Kim gestured to the tactical display beside him. It showed the scattered remains of the alien fleet. Red dots were spread across the system like broken pieces of a puzzle. "Admiral, look at your fleet. You came here with 1,000 ships and 1 million soldiers. How many do you have left that can actually fight?" Lieutenant Park Ji-woo checked her sensors. "Current count shows 127 enemy ships still responding to commands, sir. The rest are destroyed, disabled, surrendered, or lost." 127, Kim repeated. "Out of 1,000. Your casualties are over 80%, Admiral. How many more of your people do you want to sacrifice for a colony that will never belong to the hegemony?" Vorth was quiet for a long moment. Kim could see him thinking, calculating, trying to find some way to salvage victory from complete defeat. "How?" Vorth asked finally. "How did you do this? Your forces were outnumbered 20-1. Your ships are smaller and weaker than ours. By every measure of military strength, we should have crushed you in hours." Kim walked closer to the screen. "You want to know the secret of human warfare, Admiral? We do not fight with our machines. We fight with our minds. I do not understand. You planned this battle like every other alien species plans battles. Superior numbers, superior firepower, direct assault. You thought this would be a simple mathematical equation. More ships plus bigger guns equals victory." Dr. Yoon Hanul looked up from her monitoring station. "Sir, I am detecting increased stress in Admiral Vorth's communications. His remaining commanders are asking for explanations he cannot give." Kim nodded and continued. "But humans learned long ago that mathematics is not enough to win wars. You have to understand your enemy. You have to think like they think, predict how they will react, and then use that knowledge against them." "You studied us?" "For 5 years, Admiral. We studied your species, your psychology, your battle tactics, your social structure. We learned that you are pack hunters who depend on strict hierarchy. We learned that without clear leadership, you become aggressive toward each other. We learned exactly how to break your formation and turn your strengths into weaknesses." Chief Engineer Nam Soo-jin spoke up. "Sir, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 more enemy ships. They do not want to continue fighting. Accept their surrenders," Kim ordered. Then he turned back to Vorth. "Your own soldiers are giving up, Admiral. They know this battle is over." Vorth's mandibles clicked together rapidly, showing his agitation. "But you are only humans. We are the hegemony. We have conquered dozens of worlds. How can a species that has barely left its home system defeat us?" Kim smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not kind either. "That is your mistake, Admiral. You think conquest is about having the biggest army. But humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We have fought wars on every kind of terrain, in every kind of weather, against every kind of enemy. We have learned that the winner is not always the strongest. Sometimes the winner is the smartest." Intelligence Officer 1, what is the prisoner situation? Kim asked. Intelligence Officer 1 Hye-jin checked her reports. "We have processed 847 alien prisoners, sir. Most are requesting to stay in human custody rather than return to their fleet. They say they feel safer with us than with their own commanders." "You see, Admiral," Kim said. "Your own soldiers trust us more than they trust you. What does that tell you about your leadership?" Vorth stood up from his command chair. All 4 of his arms were shaking with anger or fear or both. "This is impossible. You cannot defeat the hegemony with tricks and deception." "We already have," Kim replied simply. "Admiral, your fleet is broken. Your soldiers are surrendering. Your communications are compromised. Your formation is destroyed. What exactly do you think you are going to do with 127 ships against an entire human star system that now knows how to fight you?" Commander Shin Jae-sung's voice came over the communications. "Captain Kim, this is Hunter Team Leader Shin. We have surrounded another enemy group. 15 ships. They are requesting permission to surrender." "Permission granted," Kim said immediately. Then he looked back at Vorth. "Make that 112 ships, Admiral." The alien commander sat down heavily in his chair. Kim could see that the fight had gone out of him. The proud warrior who had threatened human space 5 days ago was now just a tired, defeated alien who wanted to go home. What guarantees do I have? Forth asked quietly. Guarantees? If I order my fleet to withdraw, how do I know you will not attack us while we retreat? How do I know you will not pursue us and destroy the rest of my ships? Kim was quiet for a moment. This was an important question. How he answered it would determine whether the war truly ended here or continued somewhere else. Admiral, humans do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight to protect our homes and our families. You came to our system and threatened our people. We defended ourselves. Now you want to leave. We have no reason to stop you. But you could destroy the rest of my fleet easily. Yes, we could, but why would we? Dead aliens cannot go back to the hegemony and tell them what happened here. Dead aliens cannot warn other species not to attack human space. Living aliens who have seen human warfare, they are much more useful to us. Forth looked confused. You want survivors to spread fear of human military power. I want survivors to spread respect for human military power, Kim corrected. Fear fades, Admiral, but respect lasts. If other alien species hear what happened here, they might think twice before threatening human colonies. Dr. Yoon looked up from her station. Sir, Admiral Vorth's stress levels are decreasing. I think he is beginning to accept the situation. Time for my final offer, Admiral, Kim said. Withdraw your remaining ships from this system immediately. Take your prisoners with you. We will return them as a gesture of goodwill. In exchange, the hegemony will recognize human sovereignty over all colonies in this sector and will not attack human space again. And if the hegemony leadership refuses these terms, Kim's expression became hard, then they can send another fleet and see if they do better than you did. Forth was quiet for almost 5 minutes. Kim could see him consulting with his remaining officers, checking status reports, trying to find some alternative to complete surrender. Finally, the alien admiral looked directly at Kim. I accept your terms, human captain. The hegemony fleet will withdraw immediately. Excellent, Kim said. Dr. Yoon, please coordinate the prisoner exchange with their medical officers. Commander Park, escort the enemy ships to the edge of the system. Make sure they know they are free to leave unmolested. As the communications ended and the alien fleet began its retreat, Kim walked to the observation window. He could see ships moving in the distance, alien vessels limping away from what should have been an easy victory. Lieutenant Park approached him. Sir, casualty report. Go ahead. Total human casualties, 37 wounded, mostly minor injuries. 4 ships with significant damage but repairable. 0 deaths, Kim nodded. And enemy casualties? 23 ships destroyed, disabled, or surrendered. Estimated enemy dead or missing, approximately 400,000. It could have been much worse if they had not started surrendering. 400,000, Kim repeated quietly. 400,000 beings who will never go home because their leaders decided to threaten human space. Sir, was it worth it? Kim turned to look at his young tactical officer. Park, how many humans live in this system? About 2 million, sir, including families, children, civilians. And how many of them would have died or been enslaved if we had not stopped Admiral Vorth? Park understood immediately. All of them, sir. Then yes, it was worth it. Sometimes you have to fight not because you want to, but because the alternative is worse. Fleet Admiral Jung Yoon-suk's image appeared on the main screen. She was calling from the reinforcement fleet that had just arrived from Earth. Captain Kim, I just received your report. Is it accurate? You defeated a 1,000-ship alien fleet with minimal casualties? The report is accurate, Admiral. How? Our war games suggested that kind of numerical superiority should be impossible to overcome. Kim looked around the command center at his tired but victorious crew. These people had worked miracles over the past 5 days. They had turned certain defeat into total victory through intelligence, creativity, and courage. Admiral, we remembered something that the aliens forgot. Wars are not won by whoever has the most ships or the biggest guns. Wars are won by whoever adapts fastest, thinks clearest, and never gives up. And that is uniquely human? Not uniquely, but we seem to be very good at it. Admiral Vorth brought 1 million soldiers to fight us. We taught him that soldiers without good leadership, clear communications, and flexible tactics are not an army. They are just targets.